Hello friends, it says that I'm live, but I know that that's not always accurate, so I'm going to give it a minute. See who comes into the room. So you guys, this is typically the time when I would go live for my weekly astro forecasts and tarot scopes, and I decided not to do that today. I'm going to be really honest with you about the reason why. Ever since I got the overhead camera and I've been doing my readings from that angle, you guys, I have been channeling just much more profound messages is what I feel. Like there is an energy that belongs to me seeing myself on camera. And part of the reason why I got the overhead camera is because, hi Soul Explorer, I'm so glad you're here. Part of the reason why I got the overhead camera, tripod, whatever you want to call it, it's up here, is because in my other job, I'm a teacher and all of my teaching is virtual right now. Hi Vanessa, I'm so glad you're here. And what that means, and especially next week, I'm going to get back into it and I have several jobs. So basically what that means is I'm going to be spending between 3 and 4 hours a day. For some days it's going to be closer to 6 hours a day looking at myself on camera. And there's only so much, I mean, I think I'm cute, but there's only so much of that I can really handle. Okay, so what I decided would be good just to get me producing more readings for the channel is to do this overhead camera angle. I love how you guys love each other and say hi to each other. I love this little community that we're building. But nonetheless, I'm just explaining why I'm not doing the tarot scopes live today, all right? I'm going to do those this afternoon, and I'm going to do it with the overhead camera angle, just because when I remove the dynamic of just having to look at myself on camera, I feel like I get much, much better messages. So I will get those out for you guys today. But I love you, and I miss you guys, my little collective. And so I definitely did not want to skip going live and just being able to connect with you guys today. Also, TBH, I woke up this morning and felt like I needed a hug, and you guys are my hug. Okay, so after I get this lit, we're gonna cleanse the space, and then I'll do a little virtual hug and pull you guys in. So welcome, welcome, welcome. I posted a poll this morning to see what kind of topic you would like me, now that's hot, you would like me to discuss today, and the majority went to energetic hygiene. So we're gonna be talking about, I mean, it's not about whether or not you smell. We're just gonna be talking about energy balancing and energy sovereignty. I don't really have a lot to go on with this other than just my knowledge. So any questions that you guys have are going to be really, really helpful to me. Let's do that. You guys. Thank you for the hug. Thank you for the hug. Thank you for coming into the room. Thank you for being here. Thank you for liking the video. I really, really appreciate that. I was going to do an energetic cleansing, but you guys, I live on the Yucatan Peninsula. It's really humid here, and my sage bundles are not lighting right now, so I'm going to not burn my fingers. I do have some incense going in the background. So let's go ahead. Pink Peony Oracle. I don't know if you know this, but in my Starseed Oracle deck, the Pink Peony is my favorite card, and it has become this energy that I've been channeling to just kind of, the courageous peony is what it's called. The pink peony is actually a symbol for me when I'm reading. You know, all readers kind of have their own language of symbology. It is to me a symbol of self-love, and it's something that I really like to channel. So I'm glad that you guys are here today. So shoot me some questions if you have any. Dana, you guys, and Soul Explorer, I don't even know your name. And so I love when we were over on Rob's channel the other day, everybody knew each other's name, even though it didn't match up with our handle. So Soul Explorer, I don't know your real name. So if you want to tell me, mine's Molly, but you guys know that. So shoot me some questions. If you guys have any questions about energetic hygiene. Francois, thank you so much. That's a beautiful, beautiful name. I don't even have the deck. The peony is a link to my great-grandmother guide. You guys, okay, so this, of course, it fell apart. I got a new little basket to store my oracle cards in, and so I tried to grab it. You can see on the back here, I'm gonna hold it up to try to get a close-up. there is a card called the Courageous Peony, and it's a beautiful pink peony, and that is my symbol for self-love. So yeah, like I said, you guys, shoot me some questions if there's anywhere that you would like me to begin my discussion on energetic hygiene, energetic sovereignty, energetic balance, what it means to have an energy body, what it means to work with your chakras. I am now, of course, have been stepping into the realm of energy healing, energy clearing in a really, really magnificent way. Those are it's just some different things that I've done on myself to kind of correct some distortions in my own energy field. And I know for a fact that this is a calling of mine to be able to master this ability to manipulate and move energy through the body, because it is something that I'm meant to be doing for the collective. And so keep an eye out for that. I went ahead and I mentioned it in a couple of my readings this week where I felt like certain energetic cleanings, energetic removals were necessary. I need to perform a couple of free energy healings just to be able to provide the feedback as a part of my training. So if anybody is interested in that, let me know. Have I ever had membership experiences? Do you mean like here on my YouTube channel? Mediumship, oh yes. Oh yes, I have. I actually do some celebrity mediumship. I don't like advertise that, but I have a friend who has questions for just certain people that happen to be celebrities that are now in spirit. And so the people that I've connected with, the famous people that I've connected with through mediumship have been, I mean, they're tremendous. Nicole Brown Simpson is an absolute angel, okay? Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis is the energy that I get from the Justice card. Like, I really, really feel, I'm just like really lucky I get to tap into her. How do we approach maintaining our boundaries while living or being around toxic or chaotic people when shielding doesn't work? I didn't see, let me see that. How do we reclaim our energy? Okay. Hold on a second. I'm going to take notes. Because the chat disappears. And then you guys, the other celebrity that I have connected with, I'm not lying to you. Tupac Shakur is an amazing, like, it's a really, really beautiful energy. And I feel really, really grateful to be able to connect with those. I also have had some interesting experiences in mediumship. It is a service that I used to offer on my website, and I just took it down because it's just a lot, you know what I mean, to answer when somebody passes and we have maybe like unresolved issues with them. That is something that you have to handle very, very delicately. So if somebody requests that of me, what I like to do is kind of go into meditation first and make sure that I can connect with that person, that I can get the answers that they need before we book a session. Because if I book a session with somebody and then they show up to it with all these questions and I can't make the connection, then I'm gonna feel like really, really bad. Here are 3 other ways, just to go ahead, because I do like this question. Thank you for asking. That my mediumship shows up. For some reason, dads like to come through. Like, dads of daughters really like to come through. There have been several times where I was just scrolling through my Facebook newsfeed and somebody had posted, like, you know, this is my father's birthday, he is in spirit, or this is the day that my father died, or I just went through this thing and I really wish my father had been there for me, and then the father shows up. And it's always this kind of like, okay, I send a message and I'm like, if you're open to it, like your dad has come through and has a message. Another way that spirit comes through to me, which is also very delicate and sensitive, is that unborn babies come through, babies that have been miscarried or terminated. Mostly miscarried babies come through to me sometime after the fact, and have messages that they'd like me to pass on to the parents. And that's happened to me a couple times. And it's beautiful, you guys. It's really beautiful when it happens. But again, mediumship is something that it needs to be treated very delicately. Back in February, my son, who will be 20, oh my God, it's almost August. My son's going to be 22 years old in a couple of weeks, you guys. My son had a very, very good friend who passed. And I used to work with his mother. And so we had a relationship. And I mean, this kid was like, kind of like one of my kids, you know? And I knew that his mom was having a hard time. And in fact, he followed me to Mexico because it was like the end of March that I moved here. And he just kind of was hanging around for a long time saying like, you know, can you deliver a message to my mom for me? And it took a while before I felt okay with that, just because it was really, really close to home. I mean, this is somebody that I knew and loved. Right? But once I was able to deliver that message, it was really liberating. It was really freeing. And I think it was really, really good for the mom as well. Hi, Kizzy Cat. I was 19 when I had my son. Absolutely. I was 19 and raised him on my own. He just recently, his father, who had not been around, this is his personal tangent, has reached out to him, and like they met once in my son's entire life, and so they have been forming a relationship, and I've just been really proud of how mature he's been in that. And so my son's freaking amazing, and I can't even take all the credit for that, but yeah, I was very young. I was 19. So let's get to Vanessa's question, because this is what's very, very important. This is sort of what I meant to address when I suggested the topic of energetic hygiene and energetic sovereignty. Energetic hygiene, we can talk about things like chakra balancing, aura cleansing, stuff like that. But let's really talk about sovereignty, because this is something that has been coming up in a lot of my readings. In fact, I believe that especially the galactic guides that I attach to, I feel like there are certain missions for the collective. There are just certain time periods where there's a particular lesson that's very, very important for the collective to master. I just turned 41 this year, so I don't feel it. I don't feel it yet at all. But nonetheless, yeah, this is a really, really big thing. How do we create energetic boundaries? How do we ground ourselves, and how do we reclaim our energy? I am actually, that's the exact order that we should do that in, okay? Creating boundaries is really, really difficult. Maria's here. Hi, Maria. I'm so, so glad that you guys are here today. Boundaries are very, very important, and I have to tell you, not everybody jives with angels. I'm just gonna say that. I know that because when I was 17 years old, some of you guys know I'm not even gonna call it near death. I had a death experience. I was in a terrible, terrible car accident. And I remember the rhetoric being like, oh, your guardian angel was really on the job that day. And I was like, I don't really know if I believe in angels. But ever since I've gotten into my mediumship, I really, really do. And they are completely separate from Christian theology. Like, they're very much integrated into Christian theology, but angelic energies exist outside of Christian theology. Like, they're here for all of us. You can be a pagan and create a good relationship with Archangel Michael, Gabriel, Uriel, Raphael. And those are the four that I call upon for helping me to create energetic boundaries. You guys might have guides that you choose to call upon. They come through with many names too. Absolutely, that's very, very true. I've heard that there are connections between Merlin and, is it Raphael or Gabriel? I think it's Raphael, actually. That some of these entities or these angelic energies have perhaps maybe been incarnated. Michael and Raphael. So here's what I have learned. And this comes from several different sources. But if you guys aren't always already familiar with Steve Nobel and his YouTube channel, he has a lot of really, really great guided meditations. And what a guided meditation can do is it can kind of give you a framework, a template, some language for how to call in protective energies, all right? So the associations that I've had, and by the way, this also came from my study of Dr. John Dee, who lived at the time of Queen Elizabeth. So he lived in the late 15 and early 1600s. He was an alchemist. He was a physician. He was a mathematician. He was amazing. He was a historian. He was everything. And he worked with this guy named Edward Kelly. Hold on a second. I've heard something like that before. In the ancient texts, they speak of angels, watchers, shining ones. They're light beings is what they are. And I feel like they are light beings that are specifically assigned to the earth plane, to us here on earth. So yes, absolutely. They transcend any one particular belief system. But the John Dee worked with this guy named Edward Kelly who could talk to the angels, and in fact had this vision that became the golden talisman, I think is what it's called. And it is an image of these 4 towers that are each associated with an archangel and a cardinal direction. And so I call them the guardian of the Tower of the South, for instance, is Archangel Michael, and that is associated with the element of fire. You guys can, I don't know if you want to take notes or if you want to just come back and watch this later. I'll try to timestamp this to the best of my ability. To the north, we have Archangel Uriel, who is associated with the element of earth. So I like that we're talking about angels and just also kind of kind of witchy stuff at the same time, all right? I love it. Raphael of the east, and that is dealing with the element of air, and then Gabriel in the west, and that is dealing with the element of water. They are the guardians of these towers, right? And in Edward Kelly's vision, I'm pretty sure that's his name. I just kind of hate myself when, I don't really hate myself, but I hate it when I say the wrong thing. And I did it the other day, you guys, when I was talking about densities. I kept saying that I kept saying that we're evolving from rocks into light beings, but I meant to say atoms. I meant to say atoms and molecules. Edward Kelly, yeah, that's the guy's name. He was an occultist. All right, so what he did is he had this vision of these towers with all these angels coming out of the towers, and each tower was sort of guarded by one of these archangels. Another way, thank you so much, I'm gonna do more like it. I kind of was like, do you guys want to hear about when I went to Venus? I'll talk about it later. It's all astral travel type stuff. But nonetheless, to get back to Vanessa's question, I use the archangels. And if you don't want to use the archangels, it's just kind of the same as in witchcraft, when you're casting a circle, you call upon the 4 directions. So you can use those names or not use those names. You can just say, I call upon earth, water, air, and fire. I call upon these elements. That's something that can really help you out a lot as well. Steve Nobel is a great YouTube channel that there are some guided meditations that you guys, if you just kind of want to get used to what it's like, that's one thing I really like about his meditation, is that before he takes you off to other dimensions and stuff like that, he does set up the protection from these archangels. And then I think Metatron on the vertical plane and Sandalphon are angels that he often calls in as well. Hold on a second, I can keep talking, it's just a notification filled up my screen. There is also, what was I gonna say? Sorry you guys, I lose my thoughts so much. There is also another channel, Call on the Elements in Your Craft, absolutely. And then, you know, just cleansing as much as possible with salt and water. There was the Aries reading that I came up. Somebody had done a binding spell, and so there was all this beautiful water imagery that kept showing up when it came to what can be done about that. All right, how to remove that kind of spell work. The other channel that I often watch is Ophiana and Sikal. And that's where I did my Venus meditations. And a practice that they use, they don't call in the protection of the four corners in the same way. So I usually will do that myself before I go into meditation. But they do talk about just beginning in your heart. Begin in, just imagine the energy of your heart and allow that to expand. All right. In fact, they have a phrase that they use called your energetic pillar. And Vanessa, I really want to recommend that to you. Ophiana and Sikal is the name of the YouTube channel. But if you just Google energetic pillar, they will talk to you about how that is a very, very useful tool. They also have a lot of channels where they talk about just the kind of thing I'm talking about: energy balance, energy healing, energy sovereignty. All right. So you can call in archangels. You can utilize your energetic pillar, which if you're sitting upright, and oftentimes if we're in a moment, or if we just want to have a daily practice that can help us to protect our energy, then getting out in nature. Stuck inside, absolutely. So trying to find alternatives before I lose my marbles. Absolutely. Work with the energetic pillar, because what it is you know that there's a flow of energy through your chakras. And if you begin in your heart, just take it down through your chakras into the core of the earth. Understand that Gaia is always there for us. And Gaia has a heart much in the way that we do. All things are consciousness. Bring in the houseplants. That's good advice. All living things, and yes, our planet is a living being, have their own consciousness, okay? And consciousness is centered, in my mind at least, in the heart, right? So if you can imagine connecting your heart to the heart of Gaia, and any excess energy you have, just let it, she's gonna transmute it. Just go ahead and release that to her. And then what you do is you take that energy and you send it up through the upper chakras to be able to connect to source. And that's something that I do before any of my meditations. But the grounding, like understanding that you can connect to Gaia, that's very, very important. They have these things called grounding mats, which are useful. I had an energy healer who was like, girl, you just need to go outside and hug a tree. And this is in the middle of January. And so she's like, no, take a blanket outside and hug a tree. And I was like, I live at the corner of 8th in New York. And which is just kind of like, you know, it's in East Lawrence, it's just the city that I used to live in. And we'd have people driving by all the time. And I'm like, you know what? All my neighbors probably already like know or think that I'm a witch. I got this herb garden. I've got like the evil eye kind of like protection on the bat shelter outside of my house. I was like, whatever, I'm just gonna go ahead and take a blanket and go hug a tree. But understand that trees are really great for grounding. You know, when you were a kid and you would slide your feet around and you would get the static electricity built up, and then you would go touch somebody and ground yourself and give them a little shock. You can release energy to trees in that way. That's just a fact. It's just a fact. You can do that. Crystals. Hematite is really, really good for removing negative energy. I live in the hood and my neighbors already think I'm wacky, right? Listen, if your neighbors think you're a witch, they're probably gonna leave you alone. I think if you, especially if you live in the hood and you're a witch, like if they see you like sprinkling salt, I got to that point where I was like, you know what, you guys, this is the time of the month that I'm gonna sprinkle salt around my yard. Like, mind your own business. It keeps nosy neighbors at bay. So let them think you're a witch. Whatever. So that's really good, but the grounding is really important for maintaining the energetic boundaries. Another thing which I was very resistant to for a very, very long time is making it a daily practice. That's very, very important, making it a daily practice. Sometimes I try to do a practice when I wake up in the morning and one when I go to sleep at night, right? So it's like protect me here in space time. And then when I go off into dreamland, protect me there in time space, all right? So, and I tell you what, that somebody told me long ago, Molly, when you hit the age of 40, you will just really stop caring what people think of you. And yes, add it to your shower routine so it doesn't feel like a huge chore. Absolutely. That's actually where I started doing my thing, where I call in the 4 archangels and I ask them to be there with me for the day and to help to shield and protect my energy. But also practice in meditation. Close your eyes and imagine the energy in your heart, and then just kind of see how big it can get. Just really trying to sense how much space your own energy is taking up helps you to understand how, like, where to envision the boundary. Expand the field, absolutely. And there are some situations that we're in, like, you guys, I used to work in public schools. Like, we had a student body of 1,300 plus another like 200 staff members or so. Finally realized that's just not the best setup for me personally. But there are situations in which, you know, we can expand our energy when we are in the privacy of our own home. If we live in a home with other toxic people, it can be really, really difficult. I ask that my soul explorer says, I ask that my anxiety, frustration, and any other negative emotion be washed down the drain into the shower. Absolutely. I found a little, I call it tienda de brujeria. For me, so the older I get, the less I care about what others think. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. But I found a little tienda de brujeria, which is just a little witch shop, and they have a it's just a bar of soap with salt in it. And so, yeah, especially when I am around any sort of energy that I'm ready to cleanse, sometimes it's energy that I produce, that I create, like it's negative thoughts, anxiety, worries, any sort of, I've also really started working on trying to wash down the drain the barriers that I create to seeing my own truth. Because y'all know we do that. We hide things from ourselves so we don't have to face them, right? I know for a fact that I create a lot of my own veils, right? So here's a truth that needs to be seen about me, and I don't really want to see it, so I put up this wall, and I've just been working on trying to dissolve that and sort of wash that down the drain as well. And so it's always a work in progress, you guys. In fact, I did a meditation last night with Ophiana and Sikal on that channel, and it calls in Pallas Athena, and it's basically like the point of the meditation is a reality check. So it was all like, you and Pallas Athena are going to have a little sit down about the things you don't want to see that are right in front of you. And I think maybe that's why I woke up needing a hug this morning. So Vanessa just got an amazing lemongrass and sea salt bar of soap. Yes, yes, yes. And it's amazing. Absolutely. So you guys, I used to take salt baths all the time, and I don't have a bathtub here, but I live 3 blocks from the Gulf of Mexico. So I went and I actually did that this morning. Because like I said, I woke up from this meditation and I was like, wow, I really feel like I shook a lot of things loose, and I'm really ready to just wash them out of my energy field. So I went to the ocean, and I did that before. I've had the feeling or the call of getting a Bible. Now, what's the message on that? Now that we're talking about protection, interesting. I'm going to tell you, if I can just share with you, because I almost feel intuitively like an answer came in. I have a personal relationship with Jesus Christ, and it has nothing to do with the Christian church. I'm going to be honest with you. When I was a kid, like My grandmother was very devout Catholic. That's on my dad's side of the family. My parents divorced when I was very young, and I was raised by my mom primarily. Okay, she was the custodial parent, and we never went to church. Our family never went to church. And when I was in high school, like maybe middle school, late middle school, high school, my friends would like go to youth group, and I was like, sure, I want to go. Like I've never been in that world. I want to learn more about it. And it was definitely some interesting exposure. I'm glad that I got it, but I could never really accept and stomach, I guess, that version of Jesus Christ. Many years later, and I've talked about this on my channel before, I became a graduate instructor. So when I was a graduate student, I was teaching undergrads at the University of Kansas. And the course that I taught was the history of Western civilization. No passenger feels safer after learning that the helicopter pilot practices yoga, drinks herbal tea, and reads tarot cards. In Spanish, we're Catholic, but I have my fair share of church. To me, church is God and Jesus, and that's all I need. Absolutely. I literally removed any association of the church to my understanding of Christ. And you guys, I have to be honest. I have been guided to maybe bring some of that to my channel to talk about Christ apart from Christianity. And what I was going to get around to when the question was asked about, can I see this? Ooh, I can see it. Hold on a second. When Maria asked about getting a Bible, is because the church definitely distorts the understanding. There's a whole history of it. What happened to the Gospel of Thomas? What happened to the Gospel of Mary Magdalene? Why are those not in the book? Okay, so the Council of Nicaea, they sat around and they're like, this is not going to be good for social control. Throw that one out. But all of Paul's letters to the Corinthians, let's make sure we keep those in because they're full of rules about what to do. Pink Panty, I once accidentally may have referred to the Catholic Church as Darth Vader in this whole Star Wars medieval history analogy. When I was teaching this subject at the university. But basically what it did is we looked at the Hebrew Bible, we look at the Gospels, and we look at the Quran. Accidentally, okay? It just kind of came out that way. Oops. Because I was talking about how medieval theology was cryogenically frozen for about 900 years between Augustine and Aquinas, right? So I personally love Augustine. I love Augustine's, let's see what this is. I went to church the first time when I was 12 and my mom said I came home and woke up the next day as a witch because of all the fear mongering. You guys, this is real. And I really, whenever I talk about Jesus on my channel, I try to be very sensitive about that. I have a friend who grew up in Oklahoma and her family was Pentecostal. She's had snakes in church. She's had people speaking in tongues in church. That can really, really distort a child's mind and a child's vision of the divine and the divinity within them, right? I mean, to tell a child that somebody died for their sins, dear God, that's a lot. That's a lot. And so there are definitely a lot of distortions. And that's why I don't trust the church. Because instead of delivering Jesus's true message, it delivers this message that you need religion to be mediated by an institution, by other people. But it also, Nietzsche had this quote when he talks about God is dead, et cetera, and he says he died out of pity, or he died out of loathing for mankind. The Bible as a symbol is a good protection object. Since we're talking about protection, a Bible would be very good for that. Specifically, is it Psalms or Proverbs? I use 54 Isaiah. Ooh, interesting. Susanna. Hi, Susanna. Welcome. I use Isaiah 54:17. No weapon taken against me shall prosper. There are several verses, chapters, even of the Hebrew Bible, the Old Testament, that are essentially spell work. That's what they are. Like, they're protection spells, they are incantations, they're prayers, they're things that are meant to be spoken. But for me personally, I've been thinking that I need to get a copy of the Bible, because to go back and really look at some of the messages. Once we remove the distortions of the church. In fact, you guys, let me look at my bookmarks here, because I feel like there is an article that I bookmarked at some point in time, which talks about spell work in the Bible. Okay? I cannot find it here. But that was basically, it was like a blog post, and somebody made that argument, and they're like, if you look at, Psalms is all about, it's about love. Let me see. Known as Papa Doc, dictator of Haiti. Whoa, a voodoo curse. Interesting. I have my own conspiracy theories around JFK. Use all verses in spell work. It's typically all astrology, archetypes, and spells at the core. That's what it gets down to. And that's like, the more that I study spirituality and religion, I realize that religion is just a box for spirituality to go into, right? And then we have to unpack it, of course. So it doesn't matter if you're looking at like Celtic, African, Latin American, Christian, it doesn't matter. The point is that words are powerful, all right? And another thing that's very powerful when it comes to working with and manipulating energy is visualization, all right? And in fact, whenever it comes to, like, if you want to get in touch with your chakras, like 101, it's just that saying that where the attention goes, the energy flows. That is the best way to get in touch with your chakra, to become aware of your energy body, is simply to shift your attention to that part of yourself. Something else that I really, really want to talk about that Vanessa asked, and please do send any other questions you guys have, is how do you reclaim your energy? I do this like every day. Words are spells. That's why it's called spelling. Absolutely. Words are spells. I just have so many ideas like flying through my mind. This is my Gemini moon. And I'm like, wait. Let me just catch one and chill with it. 2 types of people on earth. Those who classify people as being 2 types of people, and those who don't. There's enough holy energies in the book to keep you protection. But it's also like, you know what? If I have the complete works of Shakespeare, is that the same? Whatever we give divinity to possesses divinity. Okay? I mean, that's my theory. That's my personal theory, right? But specifically the words, because by the time you get an English language Bible, or even like a Latin Bible, historians and scholars actually, like, Jesus did not speak Greek, you guys. He spoke probably Aramaic. And so there are all these translations of translations of translations before we get to something said like the King James Bible, or the King James Version, or even like the New English, the redacted, edited, whatever versions that are out there. But the power is in the intentions of the words, okay? The power is in the intentions of the words. I have this little card that my grandma, when my grandmother was alive, she used to just send cards in the mail, and single mom, putting myself through school, she would like slip 20s in there and stuff like that and be like, just go get yourself something nice. But she would send like almost like, if you guys have seen these little like prayer cards or saint cards, but they would have Celtic verses on them, okay? So I don't know if I can come up with that. There are many collectives of people that have given the book their energy of their faith in divinity. And I do believe that collective concentration, in fact, if you guys ever read the Law of One, it's not called the Law of One, it's the raw materials, but it talks about the Law of One. Something that they talk about in there is the Law of Squares. And this is all just about energy work, okay? Magic, manifestation, stuff like that. But let's say I decide that I want to manifest something, and I share that with you. One of you wants to manifest that as well, and it doesn't just double the energy that's going towards that manifestation, it actually squares it. It grows exponentially. It doesn't just multiply, it grows exponentially, right? So if we all, me and 5 people in this room right now, were to focus on a single manifestation, that would be brought up like to the 6th power, right? And so the more people put faith into a certain thing, the more power it actually contains. But I've just basically got this little piece of cardstock with a Celtic prayer on it that my grandmother gave me. And yeah, like that in and of itself, those things hold protection. You probably already know about symbology. You probably, Vanessa, already have pentagrams all around you. Vanessa, have we talked about wrought iron before? Worked iron or wrought iron? It's kind of based on the same thing. The idea that the more people put faith into a thing, the more power that it has. But the idea behind wrought iron, specifically for the Celts, is that our ancestors would work the iron, and that's a way of calling in ancestral protection. Ooh, I have a little tiny, like literally I got it at the Renaissance Festival a couple of years ago, but it is a little tiny piece of worked iron. I also have, yes, Maria, I talked about that. I talked about that with Maria. But I also have, it's essentially like a torque. Have you guys seen a torque? It's like a necklace that the ancient Irish would wear around their neck. And I have one that is worked iron. And so within every single tradition, there are certain objects that are meant to hold protective power. Yeah, I told Maria had to go get some raw iron because we had to talk about that. But reclaiming your energy. Vanessa, the most powerful spell work that I have ever done is spell work to reclaim my energy, to reclaim my power. And it was so powerful to me, and it was something that like I felt like I began to master. And now whenever I stop and I'm feeling maybe like exhausted, I'm feeling drained, I'm feeling like I'm not in control of what is in front of me, I just call it all back to my core, to my solar plexus. But if you wanted to do some spell work around that, there are, sorry, I got distractions here. There are, different herbs and flowers. Saffron is a really good one to call back your power, personal power. And then I used like a yellow candle, and I did that on the new moon. I did that, I believe, on the new moon to call all my power back to myself. And it was at a time in my life where I was giving power to a lot of things that were not in my highest good. They're in other people's highest good, but not my own. And so depending on how much you need it or how significant of a change you need, setting intentions is very important, but also even beyond that, make it a whole ritual. Make it a whole ritual. Morgan, AKA letter packaged as Morgan Le Fay. And the Fae are real, you guys. The Fae are super real. But Morgan is the oldest version of the name of that goddess. And she is all about sovereignty. So if you're looking for a deity to call into that, I would definitely recommend Morgan. Yeah. I've also been working with Athena just because it's about wisdom and war, essentially. Having to strategize. A lot of the energetic or even what we would call magic work that I do has really just been to protect my own power, to step into my power, to call my power back to me from situations that I gave it to for a really long time. Yes, this Leo new moon would be perfect. And it's intercepting your 7th house and will be squaring your Mars. My natal moon squares my Mars. Intention matters, and physical action with it adds to the energy. And you guys, there was a period of time where I was like, I don't need spell work. I just set intentions, or I just do, like, I do dream work. I do the astral wandering that I've talked about before is essentially just like imagining something. Can I do it? Essentially imagining your reality, right? And then calling it into being. And what I learned, because there's just a point in time where I was like, yeah, I don't need to do spell work. It doesn't matter what type of ritual you do, but creating a moment in which you really ground that energy into the earth plane, into our reality, is very powerful, is exceptionally powerful. Discover yourself in the back of the bus, out of the view of the driver. I'm interested in that. How would you expand on that philosophy? But this was all just kind of like when I was doing that reading the other day, I was talking about spell work, all these things that I had read about magic and witchcraft that I didn't know were still in my brain, all kind of started coming out because it was something, I guess the reading just kind of called for it. Yeah. But reclaiming your energy, this Leo new moon, you guys, what is the date? Should we do a live? You can't win a war only knowing your side. It's important to know the enemy's strategy. Absolutely. That's exactly it. And that's why I can't drink the love and light only Kool-Aid. I have to be aware of what the opposite side is up to, or even when it comes to things like political divisions. Certain people are like, oh, well, if you voted for so-and-so, just you're not even my friend. I'm going to unfriend you. And I'm like, don't you want to know what people, like what their logic is, what the media is feeding them? Like people who have different ideas from you. You have a wrought iron key that was, yes, that wrought iron key, darling. Put it on a string and wear it around your neck for a while. And if the string is long enough that it's about the same height as your solar plexus, I'm excited. Okay, so the new moon in August is going to be at, oh my gosh, it is. It is. Hold on a second. Let me take a peek at this. Well, it's going to happen at like 1 something in the morning on August 8th. So many of us, like if we were to do something about it, it would probably be best to set those manifestations the night before the new moon. I love Leo energy. Leo is my north node, actually. So like my goal in life is to become more of a lion. Wow, Susanna has a bunch of information. Yeah, absolutely. You know what? I get to the point where it's like I love discussing what other people refer to as conspiracy theories. But there's so many people that do not want to see the truth behind that, like the truth about our government, because they don't want to have to do the critical thinking that's related to it. They don't want to have to give up the faith that they have in these institutions. And it's a very, very interesting process. So, okay, let's look at this. I actually want to look at the chart. If you guys go to astroseek.com and you look up a new moon, the full moon, whatever it is, you can click on a chart and it will show you a chart of that moment. Oh, wow. And they're coming together in opposition with Saturn retrograde, squaring Uranus in Taurus. Yeah, there are some crazy energies hitting the earth right now. Leo men are so different to the women. You got to learn, but you know what? All signs are like that. The way that but also it has a lot to do with the way that signs express in a sun sign versus a moon sign. I feel like my son, he's a Leo sun, but I think he's maybe a Taurus moon. All right, so let me look, you guys. I want to know what day of the week it is. I'm going to let you guys talk to each other. If you're watching this at a later time, just check out the live chat. Calendar. So, I don't know, like raise your hand if you maybe want to get back together next week on the 7th and square our intentions to call our power back, like ahead of the new moon, ahead of the 8/8 portal. Or should we do it on the day of the 8th? What do you guys think? I feel like we got a fun little circle here and we could probably get some other people in. I will tell you guys what, this is true for all non-toxic masculinities, but Leo men, because Leo is 5th house, is essentially, it's the sign of the father. The way that Cancer represents the mother, Leo represents the father. And the sun, of course, is like a father god. My brother, my son, who else do I have in my life that is a Leo male? I have some really magnificent Leo males. When that is a undistorted energy, when that's a positive, healthy energy, it is so caring and so loving. So let me know if you guys want to get together next weekend. Maybe we can on live the 8th or the 9th, because before, very good point. Very good point. Vanessa says if we did it before the 8th, it would be a balsamic moon. You know more than I do. 7 hours ahead. Okay. So yeah, during the 8/8 portal, we can get together and we can just kind of focus our energy. Maybe I'll get together some sort of meditation that we can do, and then y'all can burn whatever candles you want while we're in the middle of that. Hello, Lauren. I'm so glad you're here. You guys, Freddie hopped up to say hi. I wanted to go ahead and give him a moment. You can see how happy he is. But yeah, I think that would be really beautiful. Vanessa, thank you for pointing out that the Leo new moon is going to be a really good time to kind of focus all of our energy on calling back our power to our solar plexus. But that's where that energy is focused for me personally, is in the core. And so just the same as I've had to get into the practice of once a day, I call in energetic protection. At times when I need it, I do energetic cleansing. I also sometimes just have to stop and be like, hey girl, have you called your power back to your solar plexus lately? And that's something that really, really helps me out a lot. So, Vanessa, it only took like 50 minutes, but I feel like I answered all of your questions. Lauren, I'm so glad that you are here. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Kizzy Cat. Thank all of you guys. What else should we talk about while we are here? Beta men are destroying the Republic. I really appreciated, by the way, you guys, the collaboration that was done by Rob from Rob's Tarot and Corey from the Founders of Light, I think is the name of his YouTube channel, in which you just get to see like two masculine specimens sit down and really talk about the role of masculinity in spirituality today, the role of spirituality in the experience of being a masculine in the world today. Yeah, Vanessa, thank you. You guys, in teaching, it is always the teacher that learns the most. That's like, I don't know if it's attributed or misattributed to Aristotle, but that's something that I came across very early in my career as an educator and as a teacher, and it's so very true. And that's why every time I get together and I'm like, I have this thing where I want to share my knowledge, I want to make sure that you guys are sharing your knowledge with me as well, because we all just build upon one another. All right. A big switchboard in front of you. This is Pink Peony saying, before bed, I often pretend I have a huge switchboard in front of me of all the energies connected to in the day, and I go along and disconnect those connections. That's gorgeous. That's perfect. I love that. That's something that I'm going to have to use. Positiveness. No, we cannot blame it all on the masculine. Oh my God, you guys, do you understand how glad I am? We talked about how I was 19 when I had my son. If I had had a girl, I don't even know how I would have handled that, because I grew up a total tomboy, and it wasn't until I was probably in my late 60s that I really stepped into my own femininity on my own terms. And so if I had had a girl at age 19, dear God, I would have distorted her. I don't know how that would have worked. So let's go through and see what we've got here. No, we can't all blame the masculine. And even if we were to, we carry that within ourselves as well. Yeah. But what I was saying is, when it comes to working with, and actually there's a book that I've got called The Wizard's Guide to Energy Healing, which talks about just playing with energy. Give ourselves permissions to just play with energy rather than feeling like there's a certain like pattern or recipe that we have to follow. And that's why visualization works. Like, it doesn't really matter how you're visualizing it. If you're visualizing it, then you are essentially engaging with energy. I love when I'm doing a guided meditation and it's like, if visualization is not your thing, just kind of try to feel it out. And that's another thing that really works, is just kind of feeling our way through the energy. Fred is so chilled out right here in front of me right now. I don't know if you guys notice in my readings that I found a little orange onyx cat at one of the shops here in town, and so he's always on my desk for those who are in the Freddie fan club. Exact recipes never work for me. I need to tweak everything. And you know what? There are some people who believe that things need to be done by a certain pattern, like within a certain tradition. And for some people that really works. For some people, a more playful aspect or a more playful approach is what's best for them. I had two girls even later. It was a struggle. This is Kizzy Cat saying we worked through it together and sometimes they're wiser. See, you know what? And that's the same thing when I say in all teaching, it is the teacher that learns the most. In parenting, we have so much that we can learn from our children, like so much. There's so many times where I was so like caught up in my adult way of seeing the world, and then my child would say something like so profound and innocent, and it would completely shift my energy. Yeah, I kind of wish I was more into this stuff when he was younger. I definitely would have raised him in, I guess, maybe a slightly different way, but he did message me the other day to ask me what time he was born, because the girl he's dating is into astrology. So I've done a pretty good job. Thank you guys once again for being here. Does Freddie plop over on your cards? You know what? He's learned. When he was very, very little, I trained him with, like, they don't like the sound of a clap, right? Cats. So if you ever need to know how to train a cat, just you clap really loud, and they do not like that sound. So I have essentially had to train him to stay away from my cards. But he loves to be around me when I'm reading. Lauren says, energetics are always changing, so the technique should change too. Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree. Pink Peony, yep, I raised them right. I was like, she's gonna look at your chart and see all those squares and maybe run away, but my son has a lot of squares in his chart. Yeah, Freddie knows. He's over here like pawing at me. He's like, give me attention, Mom. Give me attention. So, you guys, let's go ahead and plan on August 8th. I will schedule a live. Give me some feedback if there is a time that does not work for you guys. And we will just kind of, because that's something that I would like to practice, is leading group meditations. I'll give you guys some information about, I will find in the book, in the raw materials, the information that I have found about the law of squares. Because that's some really, really valuable knowledge that I've been wanting to kind of put to use. I will make a community post about when we're getting together on the 8th. We'll talk about the law of squares, and then we will square all of our energy to call back our power from any situations that we have been giving it away to. Let's see what this says. Vanessa says, my cats aren't bothered by claps or much of anything when I got out the witchy stuff. You know what? There is actually this whole spreadsheet that I made when I was studying the chakras, and it talks about how just certain activities that you can engage in on a daily basis that are going to help to kind of connect you to certain chakras. And I found it very interesting that hanging out with cats is obviously helps you connect with your third eye, whereas hanging out with dogs or children is really, really good for your root chakra. So I thought it was so interesting that they're, like root chakra and third eye chakra energy are very, very different. But cats definitely know what's going on. Yeah. They're probably like, that's not how I did it back when I lived in Egypt, back when they worshipped me. So, yeah, any other questions that we have today? Maria, thank you for being here. Is there anything else you guys want to talk about when it comes to energetic sovereignty? Cats do have the knowledge. Cats are like they've reincarnated out of witchhood. Like they've become so powerful that they don't have to go through karma like the rest of us. Cats also help you clear your energy. I agree. You visibly watch your cat sit on my lap, pull something out of my energy field, and then walked outside and released it. That's gorgeous. Yeah, you're doing it wrong, human. That's what cats are thinking. When we're in the middle of like a ritual or something like that, they're like, wow, that's gorgeous. I do believe that when I'm stressed, like, have you guys ever had that? You're just feeling really stressed or maybe really low, and your cat will come and like nudge up under the palm of your hand. I really do think that it's because they have the ability to extract that energy from us. Yeah. So, yeah, you guys, I'm going to cut this short pretty soon, just because I do want to get around to the weekly astro forecasts and tarot scopes. That's going to be, like I said before, with my overhead camera, because I really, really love the messages that have been coming out with that. So, at some point in time in the future, we will do a live where we talk about time, space, travel, which is what I like to call it, which is basically, for those of you who haven't heard me talk about the difference between space-time and time-space, here we are in bodies. We experience time in a certain way. where we perceive a past and we perceive a future. When we are able to kind of allow ourselves onto the other side of a veil, into a different level of consciousness, we have an experience of something that is referred to in the raw materials as time space. That's where we do timeline healing. That's where we do astral projection. That's where I go to Venus. And I brought that up in my Starseed special that I did last week. And somebody was like, girl, you need to tell us about Venus. It's actually a really, really, really beautiful energy that I would love to share with you guys. And in my own personal experience, I realized that I have soul extensions in that particular realm. So people who, okay, let's see. Thank you, Kizzy Cat. Yeah, I am so glad. I really feel like the raw material is definitely going through a revival these days. Maybe it's just kind of showing up more and more and more in my attention. I have the one that's 2 volumes, because I know that there's another where there's like 5 books or something like that. But I have the edition that's 2 books, 2 volumes. And what I'm really, really excited to do is to get into the section of the material that talks about tarot and archetypal thinking, because that is like super duper along the lines of dream work and the kind of stuff that I've been doing in the past. Here we go. I have, you know what? I've read about the Seth material and I've listened to a couple of YouTube videos about the Seth material. That's something that I'm really very interested in. I think some of you guys know that I'm a huge fan of Lisa Royal Holt. She is the creator of these here Galactic Heritage cards. There she is. She's amazing, and she channels Pleiadian, Syrian, and she channels a number of entities, and she has several books. Millennium is where everybody should begin. It's called Tools for the Coming Changes, and it's essentially like an introductory material to what these energy shifts are all about. Thank you, Pink Peony. Is it Dina or Dana? I am so sorry. Thank you guys so much. I have loved this just kind of coming together of energies today. And then if you guys are into the raw materials, I can't, like, everything's just outside of my reach. I also want to recommend The Wanderer's Handbook by Carla Ruckert. Carla Ruckert is, of course, the channel who brought us those messages. Thank you, Vanessa. As always, it is such a pleasure to have you here. Okay, Dana. Thank you, Dana. Ooh, D-A-E, like Danae, like, yeah, I love it. I love it. I love it. Thank you so much. The Wanderer's Handbook was written by Carla Ruckert, who was the channel for Raw, and it is an amazing, amazing book for anybody who identifies. It says, like, for wanderers and other spiritual outsiders. And if you guys know the raw materials, wanderers is the term that they use for what we often call starseeds. So I would like to do a starseed reading for you guys this week. Hopefully we'll get that out. Now that I've got this set up where I'm off camera and it's just really, really all about the cards, like I said before, that's opening up this whole other channel and really bringing through some powerful messages. So I'm excited to get you guys like a chocolate sundae. Perfect. So I'm really excited to get you guys your weekly tarot scopes out. And then I will, of course, do an astro forecast with that. All right. Yay. Thank you. Thank you, Francois. Correct? I hope I'm saying that right. I always tell, because I used to teach students from all over the world, and I hated it when I realized that I've been calling this kid the wrong name for like 6 months. So always tell me if I'm ever saying it wrong. Day means light. Perfect. Yeah, if you guys are familiar with the Tuatha De Danann, they are the people of Danu, and so that's just kind of what that name reminds me of. So the Tuatha De Danann are the people of Danu, and they were light beings that existed in ancient Ireland. So, all right, you guys. If you are, oh, okay, interesting. Pronounce the S. So it is Francois. I can't do this. Francois. Francis? No, that's not right. If you guys are in the room right now and you want to hit that like button before you go, that would just kind of really help this video get out there and get a little bit more exposure. Did I say it? Is it Francis or Francois? Because Francis just feels like I'm murdering it. I'm taking all the French out of it. Okay. Fry King, thank you for being here. Dana, thank you. We had something else. All right, you guys, I love you so much. Not Francis, okay. Francois. All right, you guys, I love you so much. Be well. And I'll talk to you very soon. Thank you so much for being here in this space with me today. I appreciate it. All right. Love back to you, Kizzy Cat. Take care.